Are you tired of trying to make a start the old-fashioned way? Are those aspirants taking too long to become a full-fledged Marine to help fill those ranks? Hi, Honsou Mays here, and have I got the next great invention kit for you, the Homunculaba! This creation will literally cut the time it takes to create a Chaos Space Marine in half. How does it work? Come on, let me show you. First, we genetically modify a human female slave to grow to immense grotesque proportions. Next, our skilled heretics modify the internal morphology and embed their wombs with stolen Imperial Fist gene seed. Simple enough. We then take one male slave and then perform what we like to call a reverse C-section. Come on, get up in there, get up in there. After a few days, your new heretic is reborn. Now first, they don't have skin, but no worries, it's all part of the process. Isn't that right, Billy? Don't worry, we're gonna fix that too. Now let's get you some skin. And there we go. And there you have it. Brand new Marine. Honsou, though, you say. What happens to the Homunculaba after this? Surely it couldn't survive. Well, here's the good news. They typically do survive. At least for about 5 new Marines. But that's okay. Even if it does die, just get a new slave woman and start a new one. Yes, the Homunculaba kit will give you everything you need to make not 1, not 2, but well over 1,000 Homunculabas. All you need to do is acquire the slaves. So call now, and the first 100 buyers will also be given a lifetime supply of Warp Clean, forgetting not even the most loyalist of thoughts. Hey, welcome to the 40K podcast. I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face right now. The only podcast that brings me joy in my life at this point.
You are Shane.
I'm Shane.
I am Drew. Welcome to the show. So I want to get this off my brain right now. I've been listening to this Conrad Kurz Primarch book.
Yeah.
And it starts with him as Night Haunter, which is like, I think we've joked about this before. Night Haunter is essentially like,
if Batman had no rules and wanted to murder wantonly, like it's if Night Haunter is Batman and Joker became one character.
Well, not even, yeah, it's like scenario. Okay, he's kind of. Everybody jokes that Night Haunter is Batman. I almost liken him to like a weird, fucked up RoboCop. Like if RoboCop didn't have any form of like protect the citizens and make sure that they are safe. Like if he just walked around and was like criminal and then shot somebody in the face, and maybe there are other people waiting to like, you're in a dark alleyway and you have a whole group of muggers that are trying to get you. And let's say you have like a 2-mile walk through an even like more dangerous part of town. He like would show up, and if you were being attacked, he's just gonna like skin everybody that's attacking you alive. He'll be like, criminals! Ah! And then just start like skinning people, grabbing somebody by the head, lifting them up, sucking their eyeballs out of their skull, and then like throwing them down and just being like, justice. And then leaves. Doesn't ask if you're okay, doesn't escort you anywhere safe. Just justice was served on this day, and it was delicious. And then you're just like, okay, I guess I'll just keep walking and get shanked by somebody else now.
Well, I mean, okay, to be fair though, let's say I'm a criminal a few steps ahead of this scene, and I was planning on mugging that guy, and I just watched that thing fucking fall out of the sky and maim and torture and skin guys alive, and then fuck off. I may think like I may be like, okay, maybe that dude's just like protected. I don't know. I don't want to find out. Whatever just happened to those guys, I do not want that to happen to me as well.
Well, that's the thing though. Like people just in the planet that he's from, Nostromo, shit's bad. Like people don't care. Everybody's a psychopath for the most part. Like everybody's desperate and ruthless. It's the mean streets across an entire city, and people are just they do what they got to do to survive. But the issue though is like this motherfucker. He doesn't wear the part where I'm at right now. It doesn't sound like he wears armor really or anything. He just wears like tattered rags and kills people with his bare hands. He's like fucking Rutger Hauer at the end of Blade Runner. Because also the part where they just talked about a scene where he hunted somebody down, and it's like he's basically a giant muscle man in his underwear on a rainy night, and you're just running and you're fucking shooting your gun at him, and the bullets like are embedding into his shoulder and not slowing him down, and then he hides, and then you're like, and then you're like, what the fuck was that? And motherfucker's slinking through an air vent, and then just grabs your buddy by the ankles and pulls him in, and then you just hear what sounds like somebody chopping on somebody's skull. And it's like our Space Marine episode where it's like, then the mind games start. He fucking does that. He like sucks a guy's eyeball out of his skull, and then he's like, I am passing judgment on people I've yet to even meet. Because he's fucking absorbing the memories and the sights that this man, he's like, I see what he saw. And they're all guilty. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, that ain't right.
He's like,
you're not supposed to do that.
He's like a
But,
really fucked up Santa Claus too.
Yeah,
I know who's on the naughty list now.
Yeah, so he'd be like a gaunt Rutger Hauer, but his underwear would have Daddy's Little Monster written on it because he's the entire time, Father, you've made me this. I am your monster. And I'm like, I just imagine Rutger Hauer stalking people like a twisted Batman RoboCop with Daddy's Little Monster underwear on, and I have truly imagined what real fear is, Shane.
Do you feel better now that that's off your chest?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. That's the visual that I got from that fucking book.
I think it means you want to watch Blade Runner. I think that's
I do like that movie.
It's a good movie.
It's definitely a book where I'm like, at least I'm not that fucking guy.
Right? That's a silver lining.
It's just like Marvel did a zombies spin-off where the all of like the heroes and villains became zombies, and this is the second thing that I've read that has gone into detail about eating people's eyeballs. Wolverine, apparently, once he becomes a zombie, has a taste for human eyeballs, and so it's never good to be compared to a zombified Wolverine, personality-wise.
Now, okay, so now you've got me on another tangent. I'm just like, not that I ever would want to, but I'm incredibly curious as to what it would be like to chew on an eyeball. I just, that is it like a marshmallow, you think?
It's like a gusher.
Yeah, like a really thinly coated gusher. Like, I'm thinking something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a rubber ball that's filled with I don't even know, meat jelly.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I hate this. I hate every bit of this. What do you got going on? What is Invone?
I got the night off of work tonight, and me and my son are going to the planetarium, and we're gonna watch a meteor shower tonight. So there you go. There, bringing it back home for a nice happy moment.
I'm just gonna stick with that one when I'm editing.
you leaving the other stuff, damn it. Oh, today's episode, we're gonna just you're gonna put our heads down, plowing forward, keeping the focus. We are gonna talk about the big man, the man that started it all, the centerpiece of what you could consider the 40K, and that is the Emperor of Mankind, Neoth, or whatever you want to call him.
Mr. Big E himself.
Yes, the Big E. the big man, the big golden god. He is the golden god, and his rage knows no bounds.
Real quick, so if nobody knows a thing about 40K, uh long story short, the human side of that universe is part of an empire, and it was founded and ruled by a single man named the Emperor, and we'll go
I,
over the rise and fall, I
um,
guess.
seated. The rise and seating. Permanent seating
Of the
of the
Emperor.
emperor. So I think one of the coolest things that they did in the lore was basically, so before we start the background of the emperor himself, I just want to give a quick background on what Earth was. Earth was exactly as we've experienced it. All these things, like World War II still happen. Like these things still existed in old Earth. You got to remember, Emperor Mankind really takes the front seat around the year 28,000. I think is when he really comes to the forefront and does the unification wars and all that stuff. So for all these other millennia, he was there. He just kind of played a background character, and that kind of brings me into the first part of the Emperor's story. He
Yeah,
was,
well,
oh
real
yeah,
quick, you may hear us throughout the podcast say Terra. Terra is
Earth.
Earth.
Yeah, it's
They refer to it now as Terra,
yep.
but it is like there's the moon, Mars, all the
Oh,
solar system is there.
ev-
So if you hear us say Terra, Terra is Earth.
yeah, we don't get into weird planetary names until we exit our own solar system, which is kind of nice. I like the fact that they just kept everything the same.
Planet Metallica.
But
Because of the 80s.
they don't allow you to record music. uh, that's a Napster joke for all you older people out there. So the beginning of the Emperor story is mired in a lot of theory and loose lore. The common held lore is there were these very powerful psychic shamans around the year 8000 BC who, while individually were pretty powerful, but they weren't, anything special, and they were what's known as perpetuals. And when they die, they would just come right back. Unfortunately for them, when they die, they'd also take a trip through the warp, and it was unpleasant. And they kind of got tired of doing that. And
The
then
warp is like a parallel dimension. It's a dimension
of
where,
the immaterium.
yes, think like an alternate dimension where time and space and all of the rules that we know as we know it don't really mean anything. You could go into the warp and it could be 5 minutes for you, and then you come out of that dimension and 1,000 years have gone by,
Yeah.
or you come out in the past, or you went in and then you come out and you're now a weird squid person who's horribly mutated, or some combination of everything.
All the
It,
above.
yeah, I
every
mean
time you
anything
check,
can.
every time you go through the warp, you check the box. All the above. All
Yeah,
the things have happened to you.
it's like a Willy Wonka's factory. When you enter the warp, you don't really know what you're going to get. You also don't know if it's going to be a fun little short trip or if you're going to end up in the weird, horrible boat ride centipede tour. It could be anything like that.
Quick side note. Gene Wilder improv that whole thing. The kids had no idea what was going on, and were all actually terrified. So
That's great.
fun,
That's like the little girl from
fun
the
stuff.
Poltergeist. I don't think that she realized those were real skeletons that they chucked in that mud pit with her. I don't even know if she knew they were going to be in there. The trick is you need the child fear and tears to be real. You got to get that on cinema. You get one take, and that's how you win the awards. Children don't win the awards, but you as the filmmaker,
Yeah, that's
that's
how
how
you're
you
gonna
get
get
it.
it, making it
Yes,
all too
bad
real.
parenting, but great filmmaking.
So the shamans were perpetuals, meaning they can't really die. But in some warp logic here, we'll say, they decided that they would perform a ritualistic suicide all at the same time, and then their souls would combine, and thus birthing what would eventually become the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah, they like get it. into agreement where they're like, hey, every time we die,
It
we
sucks.
come back. What if we like all died together and like our souls all like hugged each other and we could come back as one super person?
Uh, I
And
like it.
they all agreed. They're like, yeah, this is a great idea. I love it. We got a long weekend coming up.
Little
It's a holiday. Come on.
little they know that Frank was actually just wanting everybody else to die at the same time, and then he was just going to take control. Like he like readied the knife. Like, we're doing this right. We're doing this right. Like, yeah, and they're like 3, 2, 1, go, and everyone ha, and everybody else stab themselves, and Frank just dropped the knife and goes ha ha. Guess who's the emperor?
So yeah, it's the old classic. Like everybody drinks the Kool Aid cup, and then he just pours it out slowly.
Yeah, got him. so so really for much of Earth's history, the Emperor was always a background player. He took on many names. He probably was Joseph Mengele at one point. Uh, he definitely wasn't Abraham Lincoln. He was probably more Jefferson Davis in that split. Like, what do you mean we can't have slaves? Like, I can see this being like he tried out a lot of templates. I'm betting early on before he came up with what his grand plan was for down the road. So for thousands of years, he was always there, and there are other perpetuals too that come up. There's Malkador, big ones. We'll just name the big ones. There's Malkador, obviously, because he's like the Emperor's right hand man. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Erda, Erda's the mother of the Primarch, so obviously very important. And then Astarte, which is the mother of Space Marines, essentially. Loosely, I'm using this loosely, but those are three big other perpetuals. But there were other perpetuals, and the Emperor was all about like teamwork at this point. He's like, hey guys, if we all work together, we can lead mankind into this great golden age of like just perfect technology and super great stuff, guys. And they kind of got a whiff of what the Emperor had in mind, and they didn't like it. So there's a lot of warring that went on between them.
Well, they talk about humanity around this time was fragmented.
Yes.
They referred to like the kingdoms of men at this time as being like techno barbarians. So I imagine,
Earth was pretty much a wasteland at this point. There was almost no.
yeah, this is probably like your common means of warfare, like small tactical nukes. Everything is advanced, more advanced than what we have now, but also, it's one of those where you bomb yourself back to the Stone Age. I imagine it's pretty like we're not at this point. Humanity's not focusing on sciences and the arts. It's like, how can we kill those sons of bitches quicker? Like, I got a better bomb that'll boil their lungs from the inside out. This is great, and then that's where the focus is at. And the Emperor, I will say, the Emperor, I do feel like he was like, no, 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 no. I can fix this. I feel like that's his like big thing through all of it, all of his blunders. He's like, I can fix this.
Yeah,
I can elevate.
he's ever the optimistic. Like he's always definitely going. I can do this is fine.
Yeah.
I can fix this. So like,
But I would say optimistically arrogant though.
oh, for sure, and we'll get there. I'm sure we'll get to
Yeah.
that. So like some of the like a deed of great legend that the Emperor was able to accomplish was he defeated Shard of the Satan, the Void Dragon, which is, without getting too far into all that stuff, because that's a whole other list of episodes. Satan are star gods. They were splintered, and even their shards are insanely powerful beings. Uh, so much so that it's like doesn't make sense that the Emperor beat him, but plot armor and need for the plot to move forward, he wins and imprisons the thing on Mars. So, which also, in a way, creates the Mechanicus, because the Void Dragon being on Mars kind of basically his essence kind of flowed
Well,
in and kind of helped speed up their technological process as well.
well, that was after he unified Earth, right? Or was that
It
before?
was before he unifies Earth,
Okay,
because
okay.
this is still during the golden age of like man, like in the like 10,000 to 15,000 range before we become an irradiate, like before everything falls apart and the warp starts fucking shit up, I think. So the unification wars are what, in the year 28,000? So somewhere around there, because it's right around 30,000 that the Great Crusade starts, and that's when we really fucking, because
Just wreck up the place.
go into people's
Time
houses
for
late at night and wreck up the place.
time for humanity to put its feet up on the galaxy, stretch
So,
out.
so let's dive into the unification wars, because this is a big moment in the 40k universe. Emperor Mankind is deep in his hidden fortress in the Himalayas, and he is doing all sorts of I said he was probably Joseph Mengele during the Nazis with all his experimentations, because yeah, fucking Big E is doing all sorts of shady shit in his mountain fortress. So much so that, like, again, other perpetuals are like, I'm not part of this. I'm done. I'm out. Malkador was the one that stuck around and goes, I don't like it, but yeah, this shit's necessary. And this is what births the creation of Drew, some of our favorite people, the
Oh,
Thunder
Thunder Warriors.
Warriors. Um,
He basically, the Emperor understands that he needs an army. He's about to. His goal is to first unify Earth. A collective humanity
is a better
is a
human.
focused humanity,
Yeah.
essentially, that he can obviously guide in a direction that he would like. And yes, they talk about the Thunder Warriors being they're bigger, stronger. They're basically, how would you describe a Thunder Warrior? They are a
So
human
they're bigger than
that
a
is
star. They're bigger than your Space Marine.
yes,
They're
they are
giant gorilla
given
men, augmented to
yeah,
fuck.
they're like given gene treatment. Basically, it
Remember, go back
Astartes,
to our Space Marine episode
yeah,
and listen to that.
Space Marines are honed from a young age to be a beacon of all of the imperial truths and doctrines that he wanted.
Thunder Warriors were fucking criminals he basically found and shoved shit in.
Yeah. You want to join my army? Sure. Here's an injection. Now you got super body muscles and bones. Hey, here's a crazy fucking machine gun that can blow up an entire building. Thanks, boss. You sure are nice. Oh, thanks. You get out there and you just go, yeah, go kill those people. Ah, this is awesome. This is the best weekend of my life. Like it's a he basically just is like, yeah, you guys will all do. This is fine. And they go to like a
Because
month-long summer camp, and then they come out and they're huge, giant meat monsters that are they stable? Yeah, sure.
they're
They're good
stable
enough.
enough.
Like he looks at them as you'll do for now.
Yeah, like
We're gonna be a little lax on the on the qualifications at the moment because shit needs to get done ASAP.
why, Emperor? Why does it smell like burning Reese's monkeys in here? If science can't move forward without burning Reese's monkeys.
Yeah. So Thunder Warrior stuff, reading about them and some of like the way that they were in battle, they were known for having like a sick sense of humor or like a cold detachment to the horrors of war.
Because
And
I think it's important to note, though, like, these guys aren't like raised as like, okay, so there's a
no,
difference
these are
between,
full grown men.
these are full grown men that have had lives, experiences, probably not, mind you, they're also having these lives and experiences on what is essentially a desolate earth. There is
Well,
nothing
yeah,
but
techno barbarians. These are the
nomadic techno
people.
barbarian
Yeah,
groups. That's it.
these are all of the crazy people from Mad Max being given
Fucking
soup, like given like the
juice to
Captain
the fucking
America.
gills.
Yeah, it'd be like it's like the Captain America superhuman serum being given to all like to the Lord Humongous from Mad Max.
Just walk
They,
away.
yeah, literally, Ayatollah of rock and rolla, as he is literally ripping your buddy in half. Like that is the Thunder Warriors, and he's gonna laugh about it. Oh, he's got a bit of a split personality. This one, it's like everything that the Emperor does, none of it is by choice or by chance. Everything is calculated, and I feel like the Thunder Warriors were designed to be a horrifying shock troop of expendable assets that he could just send and they were going to get the job done
But
quickly, and
also, it's calculated because, as we know what happens to the Thunder Warriors, nobody was gonna stand up and be like, "Oh, no, they're people too." They're going like, "No, go ahead, get rid of them. This is fucking
yes,
why."
yes, they were
Also
the perfect scapegoats at the end to just say they were imperfect and we can do better.
but it's also important to note that he had already created the Custodes at this point, like, because those were his elite guards, and those took, like, fucking forever to make, but he made the Custodes and then made the Thunder Warriors, if I'm not mistaken. That was the order in which it happened, and he had the Custodes basically there to protect him from the Thunder Warriors because he's like, "I'm gonna make a lot of these guys, and if
Mhm.
these guys ever decide to, like, turn on me, oh, it's not
Well,
good
you
for
spend the
it's not
extra
for
time
Big
and
E."
money hiring really good bodyguards.
Yeah, so
Your goon squad that you're sending out, those can just be thugs you get off the street. Yo, Jimmy, Biff, go rough them up. I want my protection money. All right, boss, we got it. And then those are the lugs you send out swinging baseball bats. Your bodyguard, those are your thinking. Those are your trusted men.
it's exactly yeah, exactly. So the Thunder Warriors get created and they just run roughshod over the earth.
Yeah, they do
They
their job.
they do exactly what is necessary. And then we get to Mount Arret. So at this point, the Adeptus Custodes and Space Marines are in process of being created, and we got the Thunder Warriors who are, we'll say, no longer necessary.
Well,
So,
yeah, they like their ranks stop getting replenished. There are more and more Space Marines being built.
yep.
The Space Marines are smaller in stature, but they tend to be more stable mentally. Uh, they talk about Thunder Warriors being a little unstable in like their genetics. Some of their procedures they're not as well refined. So you might be fine for a little while, and then oh hey, all of that gene augmentation and treatment we gave you, your body is half tumors and you're now dead. So it's one of those.
it
I
reminds
think that
it reminds me
what's
of
up?
the serum in that episode of the Venture Brothers where he's like, "Ah, the serum can regrow a liver. That's amazing." Yeah, but the problem is it just keeps growing livers until the patient explodes with
Yeah.
livers.
And so it's one of those where I think they could start to see the writing on the wall, where you know these are not reinforcements; these are our replacement.
Yeah,
And it's at this battle that you mentioned, this final battle
Mount Arret.
where the majority of the remaining Thunder Warriors are sent into this battle. Space Marines are sent in with them. I think Custodes were also sent in,
Yep,
if I'm
Custodes were
correct.
there too.
And bingo bango, three groups enter, and mysteriously, all but one group makes it out of the battle alive. There are 100% casualties, or near 100% casualties, of all of the Thunder Warriors that were sent in.
Yes, because
Space
there
Marines
is
and
there is
Custodes,
lore that shows some Thunder Warriors went into hiding and
yeah,
basically live like hermit style lives to just like because if they get seen, there's an Order 66 out on all fucking Thunder Warriors.
yeah. So, yeah, some of them did flee to live out their remainder of their short lives
Yeah,
because they didn't have a long lifespan.
no,
Um, but that right there is basically the Emperor fixing his first mistake, if you will, or at least
course correcting.
course correcting. Yes, he's not above mass genocide to fix a problem that he sees. Earth is not unified. Mankind is imperfect at the moment. Well, I'm going to unify the planet. Sounds great on paper until you start looking at wow, people sure don't like being conquered. They're going to fight against that, and you have to kill a lot to to get the rest to
got
conform.
got to break a few eggs to create your omelet of gold of
Yes,
golden
and this is
greatness.
this is his second dozen eggs that he has to crack. Thunder Warriors, yeah, they did the job. We can do better, and yeah, so they're all eliminated, and now you got just all your good Space Marines being built.
And now around this same time is also the creation of the Primarchs, who
Yep.
we've mentioned a couple of them in previous episodes. Basically, the Emperor uh, and Erda. I, they don't really specifically say if they get down or if they just basically test tube these babies. I'm gonna assume they test tube these babies because I don't
I
know if
don't
you've
think
ever
the
seen the Emperor of
Emperor.
Mankind's like physiological size. I don't know how big Erda was, but I'm sure she wasn't nearly his size, and that would just he'd probably rip her in half. Like, so let's just go test tube baby.
Yeah, I don't think that he's the kind of person though that's even. I think he's like completely asexual.
I have to believe so. I have to believe that. Like,
He's too busy. She could be. So it's just the two of us here. Yes,
yes, it is.
this is a great this quiet uh like candlelit room is inefficient though. We need brighter lights so that we can focus on our research. And then she's just like, huh.
It's not really what I had in mind.
She storms off. Are you mad? You seem mad. Oh man, yeah, because basically the Primarchs come about with you have unified Earth. You got nowhere else to spread out there, so you look at the night sky, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna go this way. And that's like, what way? Up there. We're gonna go all over the fucking place. I need armies, and I can't be everywhere at once, so I need leaders for these little armies that I'm gonna be sending out.
Yes, because the original idea was the perpetuals, the other perpetuals that were with the Emperor early on, would become generals and become like help him expand. But since they all basically viewed the Astartes and all this stuff as like too much warmongering, they didn't want any part of it. He's like, all right, fine, fuck you. I don't need you. I'll make my own army with my own generals, with hookers and blackjack. so he, so he basically gets the genetic combination of him and Erda, and now this is where the lore gets a little fuzzy and a little maybe non-canonical. We're not sure, but there's definitely probably the Emperor made a deal with the devil, so to speak, with some warp entities. Maybe not necessarily the Chaos Gods, but he definitely tangled with the warp, put a little bit of little bit of sugar, a little bit of spice, a little bit of Viggy, a little bit of Erda, and a whole bit of warp entity shit in each
Yep.
one of these test tubes.
So the
And
warp, like we were saying, that weird dimension, for those who are unaware, there are gods. They are ethereal energy beings that live in the warp. So again, to use the Willy Wonka's factory analogy, imagine there being like four Willy Wonkas that have their own desires and focuses, things that they like, that control the factory. And so he kind of went in and made a weird, strange deal with them. We think
yep,
everybody always seems to quote, that he made a deal with the Chaos Gods. I don't think that it,
I
like
don't think
Shane
it
was
was the
saying, it's
Chaos Gods because again, very early on, the Chaos Gods didn't. They sensed the Emperor's presence, and there's lore, established lore that says the Chaos Gods saw the Emperor of Mankind as a threat right out the gate. So why would they deal with him and give him 20 more demigods essentially to work with him in his quest? Like, that doesn't
well,
make sense. And there's
because
plenty
they
of other
because
warp entities out there that don't get talked nearly enough, but they do exist and they are quite powerful. Maybe not as powerful as the Chaos Gods themselves, but there's
well,
there's still
something
potential.
happened. He somehow, it's rumored that maybe he didn't make a deal with Willy Wonka. Maybe he cut a deal with like an Oompa Loompa or something. We don't know.
Or he cut a deal with
But
Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, which is even more disturbing.
oh god. But yeah, he for somebody who we will get into that tries to deny that there are warp entities, uh even just really, I would say, not giving any credence or value to the warp itself at all. He was very secular in his,
I was just gonna say, very secular, atheist
yeah,
even, and he enforces
hum,
the fuck out of that.
yeah, no gods. You are a human, and you, like, don't even. I am just a man. You are a man.
Yep.
We are humans. this is it, and we need to advance and improve our lot in this life. There is no afterlife. There are no, don't bend the knee to anyone, except for me, and do it as, a citizen, not as a,
Not as a religious figure,
yeah, not, yes. Um,
which is going to become ironic here in a little bit when we get further down.
so Shane, he done makes all these. He makes 20 space babies.
Not just space babies, uber space babies. These Primarchs are like top notch of the space babies. But then the Chaos Gods, being what they are, dicks, they get into Erda's head and kind of make her weary of what the Emperor's plans are. Now, again, more fun lore theorization is that the Emperor knew that this was going to happen, and he allowed it to happen, because otherwise the Primarchs would be boring ass motherfuckers. So the 20 Space Marine Primarchs were then jutted across the fucking. They were jutted into the warp and scattered across the universe or across the galaxy into different planets. So, like we were talking about earlier, old Conrad, he ended up on Nostromo or Nostramu or whatever it's fucking. World in perpetual darkness. Conrad would not have become Conrad had he not landed on that planet. You know, Gulliman wouldn't have become the uptight prick he is if he didn't land on Macragge. I think it was Macragge, right? So these Primarchs developed a lot of their personalities and a lot of what made them unique on the planets they landed on. And there's a theory that the Emperor wanted this to happen. There's also lore that the Harlequin god, the jester,
the laughing god.
The laughing god. I can't think of what his fucking name is off the top of my head right now. But he actually flipped two people. Fulgrim went to one planet, Jagatai Khan went to a different planet. I'm pretty sure, I know Jagatai Khan was one of them, and I'm pretty sure Fulgrim was the other. But he switched them, basically, kind of did a switcheroo. So Jagatai Khan ended up on the planet he ended up on, and Fulgrim ended up on the planet he ended up on. But they were actually supposed to end up on the opposite planets by the design essentially. And because of that, that is actually what leads to the Emperor not really trusting Jagatai Khan further, like towards the Horus Heresy, and not knowing if he was going to fall to chaos or not. So again, the Emperor, we said he's not omnipotent, he's not omniscient, but he has the ability to see so many futures with so many potentials based on how things pan out. And one of the, like, a very specific case of this is between Jagatai Khan and Fulgrim. If they had gone to the opposite planets, Fulgrim would have stayed loyal, Jagatai Khan would have fell, and the heresy could have been very different. So, we've got our Primarchs. They are now yeeted across the universe, and the Emperor's kind of like, well, fuck. Now I gotta go get them.
I still think that it's the Chaos Gods that zipped them all over the place.
It was. I don't believe that there is a dispute of that, but Erda was like kind of instrumental in helping him. Like she basically ran into the test tube nursery, gathered them up, and then they opened a warp gate for her, and she goes, "Ha!" And again, showing that the Emperor wasn't always like, he never went after Erda. She went into hiding, but he never like went after her. So it's another like, I guess you could say it's another little link to the story of that the Emperor wanted it to happen. He had to act angry. Oh, blast! But he didn't kill Erda. He could have fucking done all sorts of awful shit to her. He gave her a space marine and sent her on her way. Like, that's fine. You can piss off. Like, it's okay. Nobody, whatever. Shit happens. We're all bad parents.
You just got free daycare for all 20 of your kids,
right? Well, when we get to Angron didn't exactly get the best of daycare since he got nails driven into his skull.
Well, listen, all right, they put hair on his chest.
50-50 shot of having good daycare. Two of the Primarchs are lost forever. That was the 2nd Legion and 11th Legions
I think
were,
so. Could be
yeah,
wrong.
I think those are the 2 legions that were just their Primarchs were never found.
Well, so they say.
So they say.
I'm assuming that the Emperor. eh, well, one of them was like listed excommunicate traitor.
Right. But
So
why list him as such? But I'll keep all the other names intact, like Horus, and I don't know. I like the idea of like this dude just ended like that Primarch ended up on like a hedonistic like Eldar world and was just like, this is fucking awesome. And the Emperor showed him like, hey, come on, kid, we're going to conquer the galaxy. And he's like, no, I am literally getting my dick sucked while I have titties in my mouth. I don't care. Leave me alone. No, we really. And I said, dick suck, titty suck. Get away from me. I'm having the time of my life. He's just like, all right.
My
then.
God, this is the worst FaceTime I've ever had. Can somebody else field future phone calls with my space children? meanwhile, the other missing Primarch as a baby, when all of the little baby chambers were getting rocketed into space, that one veered off course and just fucking careened into like a mountain and exploded. That one was a traitor. That was going to grow up to be an evil person.
That was going to be a bad guy.
Write it down. Write it down. That's why that one is written that way. Excommunicate traitors. That one. Boy, oh boy. Everybody, we're going to have a parade, pizza party. That was a good thing that happened.
That was the best thing that could have happened.
Can we get a baby cleanup crew over there? All right. Yes. Yep. That's fine. Can somebody go in and kill that baby cleanup crew when they're done?
Can't have anybody knowing what they were doing.
It's just like, what a twisted web we weave.
So, with the Primarchs being thrown all across the galaxy, it became now the Emperor's divine purpose to go get his kids.
Yeah, now you gotta scoop those babies up.
Pick
them up from daycare.
He starts his crusade across the galaxy to basically, that's part of the reason the Great Crusade happens. I mean, besides bringing the galaxy under the Imperium of Man, he also wants his boys back. And he needs them to lead, because once the Primarchs get reconnected to their legions, the legions fight better. They're just better at everything. They just become.
Well, the Space Marines were created from the genetic material of
the Primarchs.
Each of the Primarchs.
Yeah.
So it's akin. They talk about there being like almost a connection in like their soul in seeing their Primarch. There is this weird instinctual connection and bond that they have with their Primarch. It's like literally when you come home and your dog is so excited to see you from work. That is Space Marines when they get reunited with their Primarch.
Ass shaking and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, I can't believe he's here. So the Emperor of Mankind goes, this is it. We're gonna fuck off across the galaxy and we're fucking taking control. And he begins to just dominate things. Comes across the Mechanicus, and this is gonna be a fun little side story about the Mechanicus. They're crazy techno worshippers. They believe in the Omnissiah, which is their tech god, essentially, that they believe in the robot god. They believe in like cybernetic augmentations to really, you can keep your brain, but everything else can be as robot as shit. They don't care.
Yeah, they like to use arm and leg nubs as like universal. It's like their USB ports that they use to like plug people into machines and stuff.
Here, let me see this.
You see that little robot walker? Yeah. You see that guy dangling underneath it? Yeah. That's what controls it. And then I'm gonna sit up on top, and then I got these electrodes wired into his brain. And see these little joysticks? Yeah. Yeah, Steve. I want you to go forward and left. Ha! Gotta put blinders on him, otherwise he gets nervous when we go into battle.
Away, sarsaparilla. So the Emperor realizing that the Mechanicus are pretty powerful. They got some old school technology that's really useful to him. Rather than going to war with the Mechanicus, because he obviously, again, we said he's very secular, doesn't do the whole religion thing.
And his whole thing too is like he'll come across a group of humans. If they're aliens, he's just like, your home is going to make a great planet for humanity, and then they're like, what? And then you're dead. If you're humans, he just basically appears and is like, bend the knee to me. And if they're like, fuck you, and then it's like, ah. And then he conquers you and murders enough of you to make you bend the knee.
So something we kind of glossed over, and that's our bad, but something we kind of glossed over is during the years basically 12,000 to 28,000, like before the AI uprising, the men of iron fucked everything up, and the warp tore open. Mankind had already been spreading across the galaxy and had human civilizations. But what happened is when the warp tore open, everybody got kind of like isolated. So when we say there's human worlds out there, it's literally, again, these are colonizers from Earth that went to these planets thousands of years ago. And in the time since the Unification Wars, had kind of like created their own cultures, their own languages. They're still human, but they were their own independent thing. So the Emperor basically would show up to these planets and be like, hey, I'm the Emperor of Earth, your original home world. Everybody there follows my orders. So now you're going to follow my orders too. And they had a very strict join or be like, you can have your culture to a degree as long as it's our culture. So
and meanwhile, all these planets are they're so isolated for so long that they're like, what the fuck is an Earth?
yeah,
who the hell are you?
They don't even know what Earth is. They think that this is where they've always been. So you could see where the like alien world, easy. I could just come in like, this is ours now. But then you go to the human world, and the Emperor, being who he was, he didn't want to just kill and conquer. He wanted to just bring everybody under his umbrella, essentially. Like, everybody's just gonna come join me, and then we'll usher in a new golden age of technology. It'll be great. Problem is, when you're a couple thousand generations removed from any knowledge of Earth, and some dude comes to you and says, hey, I'm like basically your ancestor from a different planet. You have to listen to me now. And they're like, oh, fuck that. And then, a legion of space marines would show up, and well, that planet's theirs now. Like, it wasn't a fight, let's say. There's probably a few worlds that put up a good fight, but for the most part,
well, yeah, I mean, as we've talked about in the Space Marine episode, I mean, they are perfected. At this point, the Emperor has had enough battle data on the Thunder Warriors, and not only are Space Marines ruthless when they need to be and hyper resilient, they're also intelligent. These are not barbarians that are going to bum rush you and fight savagely. They're designed to learn, adapt, and every Space Marine is not only a warrior, they're also a skilled diplomat and leader.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're a triple threat. They're going to hit you, and there's just nothing you can do. They're also armed now with, we have true power armor. Like, the silhouette of a Space Marine is pretty much there as we know it today. They're using older armor, but they are now using they have the bolter. They have some of the tanks. Like,
partially thanks again. This is because like the deal that the Emperor made with the Mechanicus, like he went to them and dealt with them and was like, yeah, sure. They viewed him as the Omnissiah, and he kind of just was like, I don't really agree with that, but you know what? I need your shit, so sure. If I'm your techno god, whatever, fine. Like you can see all like the mechanics going, he is our god, we must worship him. Oh, Omnissiah, and he's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. That really cool robot over there, can I take that? And they're like, of course, Omnissiah, it was yours by birthright. And he's like, yeah, sure was. And now he's got warlord titans and shit like that. He's like, this is fucking awesome.
What's your buddy doing over there in the corner? Is he Yeah, he's having sex with a toaster. All right, you stay weird, guys.
Yeah, stay weird. Check you guys on the flip side. Gotta go conquer some more planets. So as he goes and he conquers worlds, he's slowly getting his Primarchs back. He's bringing them back into the fold, and there's a whole lot of stories with how he met each one, and it's some are touching, some are just like fucked up. Angron's was kind of fucked up because he kind of shows up. Angron was getting ready to lead a revolution, and he goes, "All right, come on, Angron, let's go." And he's like, "But what about my people?" He's like, "They'll be fine." They were not fine. They got slaughtered, and Angron was angry about that.
Yeah.
Then you have other people like Vulcan, where he challenged the Emperor disguised himself as some random person and challenged Vulcan to a feats of strength kind of thing, and he ends up winning, but something happens and Vulcan drops his thing to save him, and you're just the boy I thought you'd be, and then he reveals himself to the Emperor. Bunch of nonsense. Like, there's a whole bunch of stories for each Primarch, except for number 2 and number 11. Those are all headcanon that we'll make up as we go.
Something that I've read in multiple places about the Emperor creating. So he's created an army for each of his Primarchs to lead. Those are referred to as legions, and he handpicks each legion to fulfill a different style of battle, essentially. Angron, for example, I forget. I think that his legion was like the Dusk Raiders or something like that before Angron took them over. Could be wrong about that name, but basically, the Emperor specifically chose candidates who had high aggression and were very savage in their demeanor and like the way that they conducted themselves. So what you end up with is a legion that is prone to barbarism, I guess. They're a very brutal, angry group of space marines by nature.
Yeah.
Their Primarch Angron literally has anger in his name for the most part.
Right.
He embodies all of those elements, and when they reunite with him, it is just a
fucking
boy, oh boy, it's
orgy.
like adding bleach and ammonia. It's just a horrible combination. They become even more. What's the word I want to use here? Even more
violent.
Yeah,
Disturbed.
It's like, oh hey, look, our Gene Father is the same way. He's even more. He's just as brutal as we are. Like,
we're doing it right the whole time.
yeah, or like
this
the
is
war.
proof.
Or, no, not the Dusk Raiders. They were like the War Hounds or something like that. Because the Emperor basically, it was likened. The Emperor calling that legion into to a planet to make them comply or to reinforce another group. It was like unleashing his dogs of war. The Emperor knew you're probably not going to be able to save any of the infrastructure of this. They're not worried about that. They look at it as this is an enemy of ours that we need to crush, and that's what we are going to do.
Yeah,
you're not going to come in after them and say, oh hey, look, we have this shield generator, we can use this, or this hydroelectric dam, and look, they got hospitals and we can use all of this stuff. No, you're going to come in and you're going to have a cleanup crew to remove the rubble and bodies. So that leads me already to believe that the Emperor is looking at the Primarchs as a tool.
Oh yeah.
Maybe some of them have use after this great crusade is done, but others like Angron and his legion that was created for him, they have a singular use. They're a utilitarian means to an end, nothing more.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that leads into a theory down the road of like that if a Horus Heresy never happened, what would have happened to the Primarchs, the Space Marines? And it's pretty evident that more than likely they would have been eradicated. Like, there maybe have been a few Primarchs that stayed the test of time, but there's also quite a few that would have been just like, okay, don't need you anymore. Does this mean I get to retire, Father? Yeah, in a way. So he is expanding like crazy. He's doing everything's coming up Millhouse for the Emperor at this point. The mankind is becoming the formidable powerhouse in the universe, looking pretty good. He's getting to the fringes of the galaxy, and the Emperor says, "Okay, it's time for me to go work on my new project." And he doesn't tell, like, so another thing is the Emperor has always kept the fact of chaos, that it exists, secret. None of the Primarchs at this point know that chaos really exists, right? Because the Emperor doesn't want anybody to know. Because the Emperor has plans to shut chaos out forever. His plan was to get into the Webway, which is an Eldar technology, and use that to traverse the galaxy from now on, so they wouldn't have to enter the warp, thus starving the Chaos Gods out. So Emperor says, "Hey guys, we're doing great, but I've got a super duper secret project I'm working on. I can't tell you what it is. I promise you guys are gonna love it, but Horus here, he's going to lead the rest of the way. He is now the War Master. He is going to lead you guys. His word is my word. Go forth, get the last of these planets scooped up. I'll see you guys back on Terra. All right? Cool. Good.
It's gonna be great. You're gonna love this surprise I got for you.
So some of the Primarchs were a bit worried by that, because at this point the Primarchs are starting to have their own doubts and their own fears that, hey, I think we're just a utility for Dad to like conquer the galaxy, and then when we're done, he's not going to want us anymore.
Well, and some of the Primarchs at this point have developed some some disturbing behaviors. Angron was embedded as a child or as like a young adult with the butcher's nails, as we talked about in our earlier episodes. That
It's a railroad spike to his brain.
yeah, that basically just makes him it like reward his body like rewards anger and aggression, and it makes him feel bad when he's not expressing anger and aggression. So you have other Primarchs like Perturabo. They're just not nice people, and so that's concerning. Also, the Emperor has a tendency to be a little harsh when disciplining the Primarchs, will say. Uh, you have the Word Bearers, which is a chapter.
Oh.
Yes, that was I can't think of his name.
Logar.
Logar was
Yeah,
their
you're gonna be a pot, Logar.
Primarch. Basically, as we said, one of the Emperor's big tenets was, "I am not a god. There are no gods. Do not worship them. Do not waste your time. Technology and
Science is
reasonable
going to be what gets
critical
us
thinking,
forward.
yes, is the future for mankind." Logar,
He didn't quite adhere to that.
no, he praises his father as a god. He looks at him as perfection. No human, no mere man is equal to him. He should be revered, and he does it lovingly. Give people, let them worship you. You are worthy of it. You have earned it. This is teach imperial doctrine as a way of life. That it is. There is no other truth. And so basically the Emperor gets word of, Lorgar and the Emperor's the word bearers, and it's literally like the word of the Emperor. This imperial truth is kind of how they carry themselves. They're building shrines to you. They're indoctrinating populations. These are not simple compliant. These aren't routine compliance. Uh, pamphlets or whatever. They're giving to populaces after they've been conquered. This is something different. Well, they have a planet that he basically Logar like looks at it as like their perfect work. They couldn't have asked for a planet's compliance to go smoother than this. And basically he shows it to, look, father, look what we did for you. Look at this. This
Look how
is
great this world is.
yes, this is the future of mankind, I'm telling you, and you can see it here. And the Emperor looks at it and just goes,
No,
calls
sir.
everybody
I
off
don't
the
like
planet.
it.
Yep, calls everybody off the planet. All of like Space Marines and everybody calls all of them off the planet, and hits the planet with like a I for,
Exterminatus.
yeah, they call it exterminatus. Basically, like a massive energy beam that turns the entire surface of the planet to glass, like just completely sterilizes the planet. Yeah, they're all gone. Orders Lorgar and all of his legion down onto the planet and makes them kneel in the
The
ashes
ashes.
of their perfect world. And he's like, "Do you get it now? Like, does that sink in good enough for you that this is not the future? This is not what I want. I thought I've been clear. Like, damn it, boy, you done? You getting it yet? Like
You done fucked up.
yes. So he's does the punishment, does the crime and the punishment, do those align? I feel like it's a little harsh. Um,
But just a bit. There's
yeah,
literally like a billion or so people on there that just got eradicated just
yes,
because they were told to go a certain way because of Logar, and they just all died because like Logar is responsible for a lot of death.
yes, and yeah. So I mean, he and this and that we'll get into that in a later episode.
Oh, sure.
Uh, Lorgar's, I guess, response to that punishment. But basically, he doesn't take it very well. And I mean that's this the emperor again. I mean, he doesn't look at these people. I don't think truly as his son or as his children. They're not his sons. They
Nope.
are cogs in his machine that he's
Yes.
trying to run. And
100%.
when yeah, and in this case, the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease. The squeaky wheel gets horribly embarrassed in front of all of its lesser, like it's just like Jesus, man, that's not the way to do it. That's not healthy parenting. But
Yeah,
then again,
honestly,
they
that is a
there's the
very important moment, though. That eradication is very important to the story because that is like that's
one
when
of the main.
Erebus like kind of like goes, okay, here's my chance to tell Logar about there are some gods that would appreciate what you just did,
Yes.
and so to kind of I'm gonna very very much so gloss over the Horus Heresy because we're talking about
Well,
the
let's
Emperor.
save that. You want to save that for the next? We're at an hour right now. Do we want to end it there?
Um, I think we could because I mean we could go into the
Because
Horus Heresy next, along with
yeah,
the end of Emperor. I think that we
because
could.
this takes us to the 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 end of the golden age of humanity.
Oh yeah, eh, and then it enters the grim dark of the
Because
40k.
as Shane said, the emperor didn't want to be revered as a god. He didn't want to be
Spoiler
prayed
alert: he
to.
does.
But there are entities out there in this universe that yes, that are just waiting for ears to hear their siren call.
Also, spoiler alert: because he ends up getting revered as a god, he becomes more powerful than some of the he becomes as powerful as the chaos gods in a persistent vegetative state, which we'll get into at the end of the next episode, I'm sure, because for those familiar with the lore, you all know what happens. We're gonna take our fun time with it, but he's a fucking giant battery at this point.
Yep.
So I I do have so there's some theories that I want to talk about too. There's a lot of stuff that we can get into on the next episode for this because there's a whole bunch of theories I really like and enjoy that I've read and heard. I actually have now after reading something about the Votan, I'm kind of interested to see if there's a reason I think the Votan have been introduced when they've been introduced now. Because the Votan, um, they are what a Votan is. A Votan is a thing. Just I'm going a little off topic here, but whatever. Fuck it. We're ending the episode here in a minute. Votan are actually, I believe, STCs, fully functioning STCs that these guys worship like gods. And I think by lore standards, the Golden Throne is failing, and the Dark Elder were trying to help out with that, and didn't go great because the Dark Elder were creating their own uh, golden throne inside the webway. I think, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
uh,
they're always doing something.
they're always doing they're doing something shady.
They don't care how horrifying whatever it is that they're doing is. If it's entertaining to them, they're gonna do it.
But I think the Votan are going to be key and instrumental into fixing the Golden Throne in the lore. I think that's where the direction's going to happen. I think that'd be really cool. So, final thoughts.
So I have a list like I think I'd like to end on, and that is upon reading things about the Emperor of Mankind, there's the story that he got so annoyed by Lehman Russ that he punched him and knocked him out for like a week.
Yeah.
And all that makes me think of is like the equivalent in our world is like when I was a small child, I was really into Pokemon. And I used to have this Pokemon book with all 150 Pokemon in it. And just like, Dad, look at this one. This one is named this, and it does this, and this one is a kangaroo. And look, this one's shaped like an egg. It's an egg type Pokemon, and it does this, and it lives in this kind of environment, and then it can evolve. And I just imagine like
that was what Lehman Russ was doing.
Yeah, like it would be the equivalent of like me doing that to my father, and I get to like Pokemon number 32, and then he just hauls off out of nowhere, and just fucking decks me in the side of the head, and knocks me out, and just goes, "God damn, it's about fucking time," and then just walks away and carries on with his business.
All right, we'll see you guys on the next one.